Welcome everyone to the Co-Creators Convergence first Saturday of the month call. And I am Noel Marshall. I'm here with my beloved Bob Warner, who's off screen because he's helping with tech here. And we have a wonderful guest that you're going to learn more about in just a few minutes, A-Marie. And A-Marie is she's going to let Spirit just fill this next 90 minutes with all the goodness that's in her heart, and particularly going to be talking about a book that she wrote, and we'll learn more about that very shortly. So what I'd like you to learn a little bit about now is about the Co-Creators Convergence. So I'm going to share a little video, and we'll be right back with our honored guests. Hold on. And we are back. So welcome everyone to the Co-Creators Convergence first Saturday call. I get confused. We always have every Thursday night we have guests. So this is relatively new that we're doing a first Saturday call. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our guest, A-Marie B. Thomas Brown. And A-Marie is a certified Reiki Master. She's a transitional doula and breath advocate who published The Reformation of a Nation, United State of Remembrance. That title just blows me away. She did that in 2012. And she also facilitates self-studies in conjunctions with her book. And we'll be learning more about that. She's traveled extensively to the Middle East, Africa, Central America, West Indies, and throughout North America, studying cultures and connecting with nature. She's a poet, a singer, writer, and I love this, friend. I am here to bridge remembrance in ways that are comprehensive through individual and collective engagements. So that's a little bit about our friend, A-Marie, who I believe we met through World Unity Week, through Unity Earth. And I just heard you, and I said, I want to drink some of whatever she's drinking. It's pretty good stuff. So what we're going to do for this next delicious hour and a half is A-Marie is going to talk about, I hope she talks about all this travel she did and all her studies, and a little bit more about her journey, but in particular, her book, The Reformation of a Nation, United States of Remembrance in 2012. Because as you know, we're students of Barbara Marx Hubbard. We were part of her Birth 2012 movement, and we traveled to all 48 states. We gave 100 presentations telling people, as Barbara declared, December 22nd, 2012, the day after the Maya end of times, and she declared that as day one of the new humanity. So that's been our journey. So we've had a parallel journey with this beautiful being known as A-Marie. And without any further ado, Amory, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Noel. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so, wow, in that moment, I just got so full. I just almost like words left me. So I just want to kind of take a moment just to center into that. Powerful, just powerful. Thank you for having me. Thank you for creating the space. Thank you for allowing spirit to flow through you so beautifully. So humorously, I hear the humor in you first time engaging with you and just the hearing the humorous side of you. And so I'm just here. I'm just here to be present to all that is going to unfold in this time, and just honored to be in space with you. And so I'd like to just take a few minutes to center us all. We're being joined from different parts of the world here. Colombia is here. Delane is here from Costa Rica. She's also a student of this work, and so hopefully she will feel free to come in and share at this time. But before we do that, I just wanted to have us take 4 breaths in honor of the 4 winds. And if we could take these breaths in through our nose and then suspend them through our mouth in a whooshing sound as a group, that would be beautiful. So we're in through the nose, out through the mouth, and we are resting, neither inhaling nor exhaling. In through the nose, out through the mouth, and we are resting, neither inhaling nor exhaling. In through the nose, out through the mouth, we are resting, neither inhaling nor exhaling. And it's in through the nose, out through the mouth, and we are resting. And we breathe. This is a full circle kind of moment for me. Today would have been my father's 85th birthday. And I look at this as a identifying moment. You know, we see the father as one who gives the identity, right? Naturally, we see that as well in the spirit. And that I am identifying a new path for myself as we move forward, coming into 2023. I'll be moving around a lot, so I hope you move with me. Noel kind of gave me a charge when she introduced me, and I think I want to follow that train. I don't always unfold about my journey and about the places I've been, and I think that what I am feeling called to do is to do that. And so as I share with you about my journey, there will be spaces I know that will include the things that I feel called to share in the space, uh, where it speaks to the tangibility of the connection between our spirit and our soul. And just to offer a practical tool that can help us to appropriate that space in the timeline that we live in now. And so I know that in our talk now, that everything will unfold as it should. Being the analytical person that I am, I have taken notes here. You can't see, but I've taken notes. And I tend to do that as a way to kind of work everything out for myself. I may go to this paper and I may not. So I would like to just kind of share about how I came to this awakening. I can remember being a Christian. I was a practicing Christian, and I just got to a place in my journey where I felt like there's got to be more than this. There's got to be something tangible that I can feel, other than, you know, I enjoy going to church, listening to the sermons, you know, participating in worship, being a Sunday school teacher, reading the scriptures, and it just seemed to be that there needed to be a deeper, more intrinsic connection, that if I am sourced from something, that there has to be something tangible that I can appropriate within myself that is independent of me and is not dependent on my geographical location, AKA church. And so this came up in me, and I just began to kind of pull away and just kind of question. And the more I questioned, I saw that I was being seen as controversial and a heretic. Like you're leaning more to a heretical way of being. And at first, it kind of, I was offended, and I was just hurt. I was hurt. I had questions, and no one had the answers. And I'm thinking, well, the same God that made good he made evil too, right? But it was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It wasn't just good. And I seemed to be, the more I asked, there was this dark space in me that was coming up that I embraced, but it seemed that the church wanted to exercise out of me. And I just I didn't feel the same way. So with the pulling away, I just began to seek my source within myself. And like, if you are real, then you can make yourself known to me in a tangible way. And I can remember coming home from church one day during this time of searching, and I could hear this voice say to me to kneel down. So I come upstairs and I take all the church things and put them down, and I was just kind of done, just like I need to feel something. And about this time, my mother is a minister. She was what you would be called a prophet in the church, and which you can also see as a medium. And I just began to say to her, I remember the last time she called to share with me during this time, and she shared what was on her heart. And I said to her, kind of mustered my strength, like, this is my mother. She's been kind of the voice of God to me all of my life. And I certainly didn't want to dishonor what she represented to me and all that she had poured into me. But I remember when she shared, I just took a breath and I said, Mom, if he told you, he can tell me too. And I could feel like this kind of space between myself and my mother. And she didn't say anything. She just said to me, she called me Georgia Peach. Georgia Peach, I was obedient to share with you. And that moment, it kind of kept me for a while because I'm like, God, I know how that sounded, and I don't want to hurt her. I want to honor the space that she has held with me, but I've got to stand in my own authenticity and allow this isolation to envelop me for the moment. And in years to come after that, my mother gave me a card on my 40th, 45th birthday. I still have it today. And she said, I see your path. It's separate from mine, and it's good. I'm grateful for the time that we had. And from that point on, I journeyed with my mother as friends. That I honored the space that she created that enabled me to come forth with the body that I have present today. And also seeing that she also was on her journey and that we were comrades in this mission. And so it was a different parting for me when my mother transitioned in 2010. I say that we parted as friends. I didn't grieve the loss of a mother. I celebrated the return of a friend. And so I like to share that with others in my work as a doula, as we are always transitioning from something into something. And so to hold space for people, I just see the value in that, to be able to hold space. Much like when a mother is laboring to bring forth a baby, we are all laboring to bring something forth at some point. And so I see myself as the transition place that allows people to unfold. How nice it would have been for me, I feel, if I had had someone that I could unfold with. But I was coming into a place that my friends were Christian, and the things that I was beginning to see and explore, it just kind of like was a front to them. And so I became silent. And I didn't become bitter, but I did become silent. And I just began to explore these different things. Well, it all started with this space in my house when I came home that Sunday, and I heard a voice say, kneel down. So there was like a little vestibule area out in my bedroom. So I remember kneeling down in the hallway, and bending over. Remember, I said I wanted a tangible experience. That was my request. I need something tangible, And so I remember kneeling down and I began to feel my body rock, just like this. And it just amazed me how my body was rocky. And I opened my eyes to see, right? It stopped. The motion stopped. I closed my eyes. It began again. Thinking, being the analytical person that I am, the visual person, I'm needing to see this. Like, let me see this. Every time I opened my eyes, the rocking would stop. So then I just surrendered and just laid there, sat there, and just allowed this rocking motion to rock me so gently. And then it became more forceful. And I'm thinking, wow, my body's really rocking. But every time I would peak, it would stop. And I remember this voice saying to me, I am rocking you from the inside out. And that became my journey with others, to touch the place within yourself that connects us to the source. And however you appropriate that, it is absolutely right and true for you. Let it be a lie to everyone else. Let it be true in you. And so I share that because that has been my journey with Source. It's been in these very peculiar, kind of different sort of ways of being that I kind of chuckle a little, because I have to say, you asked for this. You asked for tangible evidence of Source. And so I continue to have experiences in that manner. So when I entered into this way of being, it was the silence that kind of just took over me as I began to watch my life just unravel in the natural. I watched my job go overseas. I watched my source of income go away. I watched no company hire me. I watched being forced to let my house go, but not losing my house. I was able to sell my house. I watched my car go away. I began to stay in spaces. So I went from a house fully furnished to rolling out a pallet on a space in home. And I remember the realtor saying to me, wow, you were a financial operations supervisor for one of the major corporations in the world, Home Depot. And my job went overseas to Bangalore. Recently, I was invited to India. I had kicked myself for years saying, wow, I should have taken that opportunity to go to India and help with the offshoring of the financials. There would have been my trip to India. They would have paid for my passport. But that wasn't the way for me to go, because now I'm being invited to come to India in the space of the work that I do now. And it feels right to me. And so he shared with me, you were this, and you've lost so much. And it even came down to the company that had financed my home, the organization that did my loan. It was a ring that was going on where they were actually buying homes and they were corruptly doing things. And what alerted them was, I noticed that my social security number was off. And so I called my loan company and said to them, my social security number is off by one digit and I wanted you to correct it. Well, that opened the whole thing up, and they assumed that I was a part of this fraud ring. So when my house sold, the $25,000 that was due me, the company took it. And the realtor said to me, this isn't right. You've lived in your home for almost 10 years. You've paid your mortgage. This is your money. And I expected to travel with that money because I knew that my life was embarking on this journey of just being out of the US. And so I had to surrender it. I surrendered the money. And he said to me, I don't even feel right taking a commission on this. So he didn't even I can't take any money from you because everything is being taken. And I told him, I said to him, I leave this house, this transaction, with more than I came with, because I have found inner peace. And it didn't matter I've seen $25,000 many times since then. And in the news about 3 months after that transaction happened, the company that took the money, they folded. They went into bankruptcy. And so it was just like, what was taken was not used, and so it needed to end. And if that ring was not, it was a ring that I was connected to, then the money needed to go. And I was at a place where I had such peace and joy inside. You could have said anything to me. You could have knocked me over with a feather and I would fall flat. I was just in such a blissful place that it did not matter. Well, with that comes testing, I feel like, okay, you touch this place within yourself, without yourself, all around you. Let's see how you deal with resistance. Well, there's the house, there's my job, there's my car. Now my only child. My only child was involved with a situation that required her to do jail time and for my grandchildren to be removed from the home. So now it's touching me very, very personally, very personally. I was okay with the job, the house, and then my child, the one that I carried in my womb and nurtured and reared, who is now a mother and experiencing this. And even touching my grandchild, my firstborn grandchild, who experienced a near drown accident and is in ICU. All of this is going on. This is not like something happening and a breather. It's like dominoes effect, one thing after the next. And I'm feeling this place within myself, not numbness. It wasn't numbness. It was just it didn't touch me. It was like all was well, no matter what it looked like. And it was now when I look back at it, hindsight, it's as if, what do you say to this? I say bliss. What do you say to this? I say bliss. Please hear me. It was not blissful in the moment. Watching them handcuff my child and wanting, just watching that. Seeing my grandson in ICU on a ventilator in a medically induced coma wasn't bliss to me, but I kept pushing through. It didn't look blissful, but it felt blissful in that center place within me. And that's what sustained me. I have many other stories I could share with you. And everyone will be just as grievous in the natural as blissfully as it is in the spirit. And there was a balancing that was going on. And I just came to a place in my journey where I can see the bliss, I can see the grief, and I can just be. In the midst of it, I can just be. And it's a coming to, even now as I'm sharing this, I can feel it. I don't ever want to get to the place where I don't feel. And it's not that I'm holding on to a place or I haven't transitioned the experience I have, but it's real. The weight of it is real. And what I found in my journey coming out of Christianity was like this false perception of wealth. Where I'm blessed and highly favored and falling apart on the inside, out of touch with my feelings, quoting scriptures, saying prayers, but inside just falling apart. And I knew that there needed to be a balance. There needs to be a balance with this. And that's what it's about for me. It's about finding the balance and then the neutrality within the balance. Like we got this weight that we got to balance, right? Balance either side. And then I realized that I'm a part of the axis. I don't have to lean to the left or the right. And if I lean either way, it's all good. And I don't need to feel any particular way. That however I'm feeling, however I'm being is authentically myself, and it's enough. And that is, again, the work that I do with others. It's just, who are you? Why are you here? Who am I? Why am I here? And it was in coming to understand that there was a disconnect that was created when I was formed in the womb that unctioned me to share this understanding with others. How when the sperm and the egg connected, that the sperm became less, the egg became less, right? 46 had to go to 23, and the 23 made the 46 that allowed me to come forth. That it's the same in life. Something has to die for something to live. And death is not, it's not sad. It can be, but it's not. It's a portal. It's the revolution, right? It's that spiral that allows things to continue to end and begin and begin and end. And it's the continual revolution that we're involved in, the up and the down, right? That we don't flatline here, that we have these ups and downs, these hills and these valleys that make life the beautiful cacophony that it is, right? And so to support that in others, that you don't have to be any particular way. That if you're feeling angry now, let's be 100% angry. Let's really unfold anger for what it is. Let's not rush to judgment and, oh my God, I shouldn't do this because it's not right, or oh, I shouldn't feel this way because it's not nice. But it's how you feel, right? So then let's not deny that. Let's embrace that. And in coming to make peace with all of ourselves, that we're able to come into right remembrance of who and what we are. I'm jumping, and I hope that you all can appreciate my jumping. I'm just moving as it's coming to me. One area that I work in is in the remembrance, the reconnection of our spirit self to our physical self. And when Spirit showed me how spirit never dies, right? So we always have been and always will be. But this form was a finite place of entry, right? So when the sperm and the egg became less so that we would become, there was this combustion, right? All of those millions of sperm came to that egg, only one got through, and the show began. But there was this bursting, right? The spirit showed me that this was the original trauma that we all experience. We all have the same original trauma as spirit beings. And that is when we attach to this physical entity that is the physical body. Well, does a thing become when it manifests or when it is? Let there be light. With the absence of light, light is. And so, although the physical body had not formed at the meeting of the sperm and the egg, the potential is there. The potential to be formed human is there. And it's there that the energies come in. And so when I do the work that I do, I take us back to preconception, right? We know where the trauma began. We know where the door to it is. Let's get before it. And what I do is I take the birth date, and we all could do this. That's why I'm sharing it. Take your birthday and calculate your conception date. Your conception date is also going to give you the space when the sexual activity occurred, and you can breathe into the space with your parents when they came together to birth you or to form you. So we have the conception date, we have the period of implantation. All those dates are there for us to see and play with, right? And we know that where our attention goes, right, that's where the energy goes. And so even though we may not have physically been here at that time, energy was present. And energy is omnipresent, and we're a part of that. And so we can breathe into that space. Recently, a client was sharing, they were in their intro space with me, and I only felt to share one event from the period where they were conceived. So what you can do is when you get your conception date, you can find an event that occurred in the place where you were born. And in particular, I'm working with a client in the US. And so at the time of their birth, President Clinton was president. And it was during the whole issue with Monica Lewinsky, right? So to give them the space of what was occurring. So I told them to use that as a place to refer back to their preconception body. And the client shared with me how the day before our session, a YouTube video had come up, and it was about President Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, and they didn't know what it was for. So she had her confirmation that yes, we were to do work together. And I'm so grateful for that, because with this client, I wasn't feeling anything, and Spirit just said, just share, feel fun. And when I did, it resonated so with her that she knew she was in the right space. Yes, it's important for us to be in the right space with the right people. We're all connected, but there's certain things that we get from other people that others just can't give to us. And it's nothing that's right or wrong. It's just the way that it is. I'm of the mind that we're a soul tribe, right? We have other tribes that we're a part of. And so when we integrate into this dimension, we have work to do. And so just because we're all one doesn't mean that we're aligned to complete an assignment, like Bob and Noel have come together to complete this assignment. Who knows, they might have been brother and sister, or uncle and aunt, or teacher and student in some other dimension, but here they are partnered to do this work. And so with that understanding, I always engage from the intrinsic place first. I like to go in and see who you are beyond the words and the labels. Who are you? And do you know who you are? And so, yeah, we can do that. We can find an event that happened before we were born, and we can breathe into that space. There's nothing else that you need to do. You can breathe the intention of being reconnected to your authentic self pre-formed. Now, what that does is it empowers us to look at the traumatic experience that we have in this physical dimension, that we're able to approach it differently. Case in point, I used to view my father as unavailable, and my mother as the resonant force in my life. And it was a fragmented way of being. But when I put them together as the mother-father unit for the lesson, there was balance. My father was not always present, but my mother was. So where there was abandonment on one side, there was presence on the other. And those two halves that came together to make me, there's a wholeness there. And that is another part of the work that I do, to identify how you see your first father and your first mother in this dimension, in this life stream. And let's see where there is a commonality. Let's see what the lesson of the father is. Let's see what the lesson of the mother is. And let's bring them into the unity. No, I'm one of 7 children. So let's bring them into the unity. And I'm actually the middle child. Let's bring them into the unity, okay? And so when we're able to bring wholeness to our parents, it further brings us back to who we were pre-conception, right? And that's the work I do. My work is around preconception, and then in vitro, and then exiting the womb, because there is where that physical, tangible awareness of the trauma occurred. Exiting the womb, taking the first breath. And that's why I focus around breath, because breath is that tangible evidence that we are human, right? We took a breath when we came in, and we're going to give it up when we leave. Everyone exhales when we leave. So we all have the same beginning and the same ending. And we get to celebrate the diversity in the different ways that we express this life energy, right? So for me, I'm constantly doing my work as I work with others. So I never see it as me doing something for someone, because the client that I'm working with now, she definitely reflects my experience. Her father, she sees her father, the word she uses for her father is abandoned, and the word she uses for her mother is present. And in those experiences, it's like she leaned everything into the mother and separated from the father. And in bringing them together, she's able to see her complete self. And it's a normal thing, right, for us, the experiences that we've had that we kind of lean away. And usually the experiences that have had the most effect on us are the ones that have the deepest lessons, right? And I'm grateful today for my father, for everything that my father showed me. for everything that I experienced with my father, because from the child's eyes, I saw that my mother was always present, my father was unavailable, and even when he's here, I wish he weren't. But I remember when my mother transitioned in 2010, and I was honored to be present when my mother transitioned. I like to say that she was there when I took my first breath, and I was there when she gave her last. And it was a beautiful time. And I remember being angry. I was very angry when my mother transitioned. I thought, wow, after everything that she experienced in her life, why should she go first? Why didn't he go first? Right. And I remember going over to the funeral home that evening. I was sitting with the funeral director, and I said to her, I said, I'm just so angry. Like, it's just not right. It's not fair that she should go, that he gets to stay here. And she said to me, hey, Marie, your mother was ready to go. Your father's not ready to go. And even that, I was just so angry. Like, I don't care about him not being ready to go. He should go. After all the hell he put her through, he should be gone. He shouldn't be here sucking up air and space. And she's gone. I'm being real. Can we be transparent and real? And I just, that child that felt for her mother was just like, no, this isn't right. And I just knew that within my heart of hearts that I needed to make peace with this. To bury my mother, I needed to make peace with my father. And she said to me, hey, Marie, get a good memory of your father. Because long after he's gone, it will be the only memory of your father. Didn't bring me peace hearing it, but I knew it was true. And I remember getting in my car, driving from Atlantic City to Pleasantville, New Jersey, to sit with my father. My parents had been legally separated since my 18th birthday. So this is some time had passed. I was actually in the courtroom when the judge gave the order for them to separate and my father to leave the home. And I remember my father saying, the judge saying, well, what things do you need from the home? And he named his clothes and his reel. Back then, my father was born in the 30s, so he still had the reel-to-reel tape. He said my recorder, the vacuum cleaner. And I remember him saying at the end, she can have the children. Can you imagine a child that I already felt separation from my father? I had already had this opinion of my father of not being a good person, not being present. And to hear him say that, I'm 18 years old, you haven't been available to me for most of my childhood, and for you to say that, and I hear you saying to be dismissed with appliances. And I wrote a piece, and I'd like to share that piece right now. I feel to share it in honor to my father on his birthday. If you knew that I was watching, would you still have ripped her clothes or gave a warm embrace? Instead of that bloody nose, if you knew that I was listening, would your words have somehow switched to baby, sweetheart, darling? Or would she still be called up? If you knew that I was waiting to be held, adored, and told that I am beautiful, watching, listening, waiting to be, would you still have abandoned me? I wonder if you realize one day I grow up and wonder why. Why did you hit her, curse her? Why did you abandon me, huh? Why? Was it because you saw, heard, and felt your own needs being abandoned, leaving you to douse your pain in a bottle, impacting the future of your own daughter, who would one day come to feel abandoned in a courtroom over Sony and GE? Rest now. It's all good. Believe me, it's okay. The sun, it also rises. and the pain does go away. See, though I was part of your plan, I was not the matter you, one solitary man, suspended in a time pre-existent to mine, oblivious to the questions your own pain would leave behind. I wonder if you knew one day I'd come to be. I wonder if you knew how happy we could be. I wonder if you knew, and if you even cared. 'Cause if you knew, then why did you leave? So I remember driving to see my father that night. And when I got there, I purposed to listen to my father, someone who I had seen as abusive and unavailable. I purposed to listen. And my father sat and he went through his regular, what my mother wasn't, the only reason he did this, blah, 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 blah. So I got about midnight and there was this place where my father ran out of words. And it was just such a still. And my father says, I don't think we've ever sat and talked like this. I said, no, Dad, I don't think we have. He said, it's nice. In listening to my father share about my mother and really be open to my father's experience, that childhood memory that I could share with him came up. When we allow ourselves to embrace and acknowledge a place of contention within us, it creates this expansion within us. And I was able to see the memory. I said, Dad, I want to share something with you. I said, do you, now remind you, he's just got done unfolding these very negative things about my mother. And I say to him, do you remember when you used to pick us up after church and take us to the park? And he's looking like, where is this going? Did you hear what I just said? And this is your response. I said, did you enjoy that? Did you enjoy picking us up and taking us? I remember I enjoyed it. You had that old, my father had an old green Chevrolet truck, like a Ford truck. And we called the truck Snoopy. And I said, I used to like getting on the back of Snoopy and, he used to come pick us up and the wind would be blowing. My hair didn't blow much, but it certainly blew over me. And so it just felt good feeling the breeze and we're just out and laughing. And he would take us to the ice cream stand. I said, you remember you could take us to the ice cream stand? It's a lot of us. And we're all pointing to Sundays and these different things. And my father would always get us a small chocolate cone. All of us got a small chocolate cone. And then he would take us to the park. I said, you remember taking us to the park? Yeah. He's like, yeah, I remember that. I said, did you like that, pushing us on the swing? You used to push us and then run under the swing and play like you were a monster. And so he's just sitting here and I could feel the energy around my father and I just really, really changing. And we're at the park. I'm a little girl and he's with her dad and he's pushing me on the swing. It didn't matter. In that moment, that was my dad, right? And so he did this every Sunday without fail. And so I said, did you enjoy that? Pushing us down the slide? And he's like, I did. And I said, Dad, I'm getting ready to bury my mother. And I promise you that when it's your time, I will give you the same honor that I am giving my mother. And I knew in that moment, it didn't matter father had a very hard childhood. My father was an alcoholic by the time he was 14 years old. My father was in congestive heart failure when he transitioned. He was drunk when he transitioned. The pain that my father experienced was greater than his will to live. That the doctor could tell him, Mr. Bailey, if you take another drink, it could be your last. And to hear my sister share how all of his things were in order when she went to the house, it's almost like he knew that he drunk himself out of this existence. And I'm so glad today. I am so honored that I was able to see my father before he made his transition. That with all the ugliness that I saw, it was just his way of expressing love that was distorted with the pain that he experienced. And my father came here to teach me a lesson. And I got the lesson. I got the lesson. And today, when I share, as these tears are falling, as my heart is so full, as I feel my father, I honor my father in this moment. You know, my father sang in a group in the church, and he still drank. And my father said, they see me. They don't know that I see them in the parking lots with men that aren't their husbands. They don't know. So although he knew he was being judged, my father was full aware that he was not the only one who had sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So for me to even in that moment say to my father, not fully embracing it, but knowing it was the honorable thing, to say to my father that I will give you the same honor as I am giving mom, I knew that it was bringing my parents together for the full lesson. So that when my father transitioned a year later, my heart was complete with my father. My heart is complete with my father today. There's no regret or anger. There's none of that in my heart towards my father. And it reminds me in this moment of what my mother said when she made her transition. She transitioned on January 18th. It was a Monday. And on that Saturday, my mother sat up in her chair for the last time. And she said, my heart is clear. She said, Ed Bailey has to answer to God for himself. I knew what my mother had went through. I watched some of the things that she experienced. My mother lost children. She was on dialysis. Her body had suffered a lot at the hands of my father. So for my mother to sit here days before her transition and say, my heart is clear, certainly I, not fully understanding that experience, can follow in like kind. And so it's with a balanced heart that I share about my father, that I honor him, that my father was authentic in who he was. It wasn't right or wrong, it's who he was. And he did the best he could with what he had, understanding that my father suffered as a child and he just didn't know how to express it. But he did every Sunday in a park with his children. And I honor you, Dad. I honor you today. I honor you in this moment. And I know that if I have these experiences within myself, others do as well. And how can I be present? How can I be available to humanity to allow this to unfold? Understanding that this next generation that has come in is fully aware. This is why today, even as I sit here, understanding the conditions in the world, I am hopeful because I have grandchildren that I know see beyond the physical, and they are the answer to the problems that are present today. All we've got to do is kind of just tidy it up a little bit. They're stepping into the place. All we got to do is join hands and pass the baton that's already here to be passed. I have a 9-year-old grandson that sees me so clearly, can see my auras, says to me, Gigi, I see your aura, it's white. You know, here we are today understanding about auras. Who taught him? Who taught him? So I'm very encouraged by the generation that's coming behind us, that they do have the answer, and it's pure, unadulterated spirit that has come in with them. There's not a teaching that needs to happen. It's a remembrance that needs to come in. And that's where I see it even with us. That's why the Reformation of a Nation in the United State of Remembrance, that we would come into remembrance of who we are. And how do we do that? When we shed these labels, when we allow our parents to become a whole expression to us, not this fragmented, disjointed, well, my father did this, my mother was this. What is the lesson of my father, of his 23? What is the lesson of my mother, of her 23? That I might be a whole being. And we need to experience this on a physical level as well as a spiritual level. And we need to make it practical. We need to make it in a way that we can touch it and feel it. I'm very much of that mind that it's beautiful to have these experiences. There's a lot that's going on in my head right now, but I've got to bring it into a space that we all can relate to. And if you could see, it's like my father, I know he's just so happy to be honored in such a way because in the natural he may have been seen to have done such devastating things, or but my father was no different from anyone else. He just expressed it differently, right? And then my mother, coming from a home of a similar thing, but just wanting to be present for her family. That's what drove her, being present for her family. But it didn't mean that my mother didn't have pain. It didn't mean that she didn't have sorrow. And I remember sharing with my mother in 2007. I said, Mom, my mother was a writer, and I'm a writer, and she wanted to write a book. And I said that when I share my poem, my book of poetry, I'm going to weave my mother's story or my understanding of my mother in the story. My mother had a title. Her name was Grace, and it was His Grace is Sufficient. That's the title she had for a book. And I said, Mom, you can find some place to put the hurt inside of you in words. You're a writer. And now today I hear the saying now, find some place to put the pain. Don't keep it in your body. Let it be written, let it be sung, let it be danced, but find some place to put the pain other than your body. And in other words, I shared that with my mother. And believe it or not, in unpacking my things, that poem fell out because I didn't realize she had done it. And when she transitioned, I want to balance, I want to bring my parents into full balance because they are a whole expression to me. And so when I was unpacking my things, the uh, the paper that my mother wrote on fell out. I have it as a bookmark now, and I had it laminated so so it wouldn't wear. So it fell out to me the other night, and I want to share that with you. My grandmother worked on the railroad, and they come out of South Carolina. And so my grandmother was a hard woman. I mean, she strapped on the boots. She out there driving the pegs with the men. So Mary Bell Thomas did not play, and they knew it. She was a she was a hard one. And so my mother was her only girl. She had 3 children, but my mother was her only girl, and she was hard on my mother. She was very hard on my mother. I learned later that sometimes when we have children and they remind us of the father, we take it out of the child. And that may have been some of the experience that my mother was having with my grandmother, but my grandmother was very hard on my mother. And my mother used to share how her mother would tell her, you won't live to see the age of 35. And so up until the age of 35, my mother was afraid that something would happen. So these are the kind of things. But again, my grandmother has a story too, right? And so with these stories go on. And so the poem was around when she was a child, my grandmother would drink a lot and she would get physical. And so my mother would run and hide under the house. And I'm thinking like, wow, you think a house, how dirty your bottom of a house is, but she found safety underneath the bottom of this house. And so the poem goes, he saw me. He saw me, battered and bruised, afraid to come out, but he saw me. I wonder why mom does these things. I came out, I'm paraphrasing, I came out, it happened again, but it was okay because he saw me. My mother lived such a very spiritual life. She found her freedom in her faith. And although she never had the opportunity to write that book physically, she wrote that book through that poem. And I certainly want to honor her as a writer because the writer is still in me. My mother is still in me, and I can still carry that forward. And so my mother learned his grace was sufficient as a child, and that same grace and faith carried her in her marriage to her husband. And I know that before my father made his transition, the conviction of the kindness that my mother showed him enabled him to come to a right place. I know that my father completed this life stream in a hard place, but not without love. My father knew love, and that love allowed him to show that love to his children. And there were spaces in his marriage early on that he was able to express it. So it wasn't always that way. So I just wanted to kind of give honor to my father and my mother in this space on today. They are a whole lesson and expression to me. This is why the Reformation of a Nation, this is why Yes the Breath, because I know that when we come into right relationship within ourselves through breath, that we are able to approach any situation, perception, mindset through the power of our original connection. And that is why I center so heavily around this. I do want to jump because we have about 30 minutes left, and I would like for Shannon to come into this space. And Shannon, you don't have to go where I went. Whatever is on your heart is the right thing to share in this moment. This book was published in 2012, and it came as a stream of consciousness. For 3 weeks, I would pick up the pen and write, and then I would put it back down again. And I felt to publish this book in its raw state. So this book was published as is. So you can imagine Shannon and others that may, Delane, she's actually read from the book. It's kind of hard to just kind of read as a story because you have to kind of jump in where you fit. And Shannon struggled with this the first year, and she just said, "This is grievous. This is dreadful. Like, what is this?" Because the study is you go in and whatever speaks to you, you share. She said, "What am I supposed to be getting?" And I understand that mind because she's an analytical mind. She wants to see what it is, tell me what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'll do it. She was simply handed a book, a book, a book, and supposed to make sense of it. So I said, whatever comes to you, share. So I think she lasted about 8 months the first go around, or three. No, Shannon, you can tell your story. And anyway, she stopped. She said, "I just can't continue." And I said, "I want you to know that it's here. If you would like to come back, you can certainly come back." And she did. She said that she owed it to herself to do that. And she had a little resistance coming back in, but she overcame that almost immediately. And she realized the thing that she was resisting was the thing that allowed her to push through the resistance and actually come to herself in this. And I just kind of want to give Shannon a few moments to share about her experience with the Reformation study and what it has meant to her. And I will mute.
Hello, I am Shannon. And so, yes, Anne-Marie is very right when she said, the whole thing about the book and my experience, because, I went into it one day. She said, "Oh, Shannon, I wrote a book." And I was like, "Oh, really? Okay, I'll support, because I like to read, So I had the whole idea wrong from the beginning, because I'm thinking, oh, it's a novel. I like to read, I'll read it. And then she's like, "Well, when I'm gonna do a study." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it. And I read that first chapter. I was sick. I was like, "Okay, what is it that I need to do?" And I think I lasted, like she said, I'm thinking maybe 6 months, because I remember when it was hot outside. And I remember I'd never forget we was in Home Goods and I forgot to post, I think. And I was like, this is just not, I don't understand any of this. And I think, and now that I look back on it, I was going at it from a very cerebral part, like from my mind. Like I was trying to read it for, just read it and then come up with something to say about it. I was not doing it from a meditative state. And that's what had me I was twisted up. I was like, and so she said, "Well, just give it another try." So I tried it, and then I just dropped out. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. And then we had gone back to work because that was in the middle of COVID. And I was like, and we got to post by 6 o'clock. Wait, oh Lord, I just had all these obstacles, that I was coming up with. But then when she did it the next year, she said, "Shannon, I'm going to do it the next year if you want to come." She invited me to do it. And I said, "I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get my mind around it. And I'm just going to do it." And then she really talked to me about, she's like, "Shannon, you don't have to do the whole paragraph. Just read it line by line." And that, it just made sense to me. It was just like bite, snack, meal. Take a little bit at a time. You don't have to do the whole paragraph and write something about the whole paragraph. It's whatever speaks to you from that paragraph. And when I started to do that, it just made it a whole lot better. And also, I began to meditate beforehand and just sit with myself and get in a quiet space as I was reading it. Then you can feel your body react to whatever, a sentence or something in there. And that's where I stayed. And that's where I began to write from. And that whole process was transformative for me. It taught me how just to stop and breathe, and whatever I'm feeling, let me breathe through that. Let me see what this is and why I need to stay here and work through that process. It also, like, I like the way Anne-Marie put it today, find a place to put that pain. That was heavy. That felt heavy for me, because it's like, it don't have to be inside of you. Find some place to put it. But, journal, breathe, meditate, find some place to get it out of you. And I didn't realize for years that's what I was doing. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but I used to journal. I journal all the time. Not used to, I still do. And I'm like, oh. And then I realized that after I journal, after I got whatever on my mind out of me, it was like, okay, then that's gone. And then I could go on to the next thing. It was so powerful for me. I also love the book. I like the discipline around the book. I thrive in discipline, because how you do anything is how you do everything. So that really helped me. It like kept me, on task, which was very, very good for me. And I think that's how I was so successful. Even when people dropping out, I was able to stay because I do well on a schedule. And then it helped me spiritually. I realized that, like, spiritually, like inside of me, like I don't have to go to a church building. I don't have, like, God is with me every single second of the day. And it taught me how to reach back inside of me in my breath. And you know what else? You know what else came to me? That it's all about the vertical. Me and God looking up, not about the horizontal, what's around me, what's happening, because everything happened for me. It didn't happen to me. It happened for me to get to where I am today. So now things are going through me. And that, now that I, go back and I think about the book and think about my process through the whole book and how it has changed my life, even after I finished the study, it's just something different about how I view life and how I view any type of issue or situation. I am very high strung. Marie knows me. I go to the left quick. But even with that, like I don't. It's like no. I need to sit and I need to breathe. I need to just let me just breathe through this. Whatever it is, it will pass. I just have to understand what I need to do right now to get through it. So that's what that book did to me. It really helped me connect to my breath, and that breath helped me to connect to any and everybody else, that the spirit being of any and anyone else. And you know what else? The one thing I remember, I was on this call and some person was asking about, I'm in college and I want to, study, and what can I study to get closer to God, and, in the Bible. And I said to her, if you can just get still, just don't worry about the books in the Bible. Don't worry. No. Just get still. If you can just sit somewhere and just get quiet and get still, he will show you anything that you want to know. God is he's in a commercial. He's on a billboard. Somebody could be saying something and you can pick something out of that. He is everywhere if you are in a space where you can see that. And that was even came back to me. I'm like, I know he's out here. I just got to reach for him. I have to be open to him, keep my my ears open and my eyes peeled, because he's out there. So that's been my experience, and it's still my experience, and it has been absolutely wonderful. It has been. So thank you.
Shannon, is there a passage in the book I want you to be able to share? Is there a particular passage that still resonates with you today that you wouldn't have to go to the book to share? Or is there something in particular, an area?
Oh Lord, that book is
I know
so
I'm
deep.
putting you on the spot. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I can't. It was something. No, I can't. I'm sorry. I can't think of anything right off the top of my head. I'm not good with that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I just wanted to, and I do want to share a little. I want to share this because Delane is here from Costa Rica. Delane actually has been a part of the study, and Delane and I walk very closely together even today. And so, Delane, I certainly want to give you the space to come in and share about your experience with the Reformation of a Nation, or even with me as a companion on your journey. If there's something that you'd like to share in the space, I want to give you the opportunity to do so. And if not, I'm going to share the opening of the book with you. Again, this was published in 2012. And so this was long before the pandemic, and the opening speaks to what we just experienced with this global pandemic in 2020. This was not a part of the writing that came forth, but the publisher suggested that there be a prologue because the material is so heavy. And so this is what came to me in September of 2012. And I felt that this book needed to lay dormant for 7 years, and it has, from 2012 to 2019. I had no idea what would be on the world stage when this book's time was coming. And so now I'm beginning now to open to others that if they would like to study this work with me one-on-one or in a group setting, that I am open to do that. I actually did it for 3 years, from 2019 to 2022. I did these private groups that Shannon and Delane were part of. And now I'm going to be opening it up here at the Co-Creators Convergence, giving voice and sound that I am willing to do this work one-on-one with anyone that would like to take this journey. And so I want to share the opening with you. As the United States of America stands on the cusp of its re-election of President Barack Obama to a second term, and Israel prepares to go to war, the nation of every soul stands predisposed to come to terms with its pandemic end. An end that was established long before its humble beginnings in the womb of humanity. All were born to die, to come to the end as previously understood, and to arrive in a place of completion. In this place, we are fully engulfed in the knowledge and reality of truth. This is a journey within that every human being takes solely and wholly. As we take this time to examine ourselves within the framework or figure that we were originally formed, there is a human tendency to compare and judge what is not readily understood. You will be challenged to forego these typical patterns of thinking to possibly experience something new and different in a language that you clearly understand, a language you have always known, and somehow misplaced in the transition to your current state of reality. However this message unfolds to you, it is your own personal truth. And that is the heart of the Reformation of a Nation. What doesn't make sense to one totally resonates with another, and it's subject to your own interpretation. And I thought how beautiful this work, because part of the formation of the church was about bringing all these different beliefs and schools of thought under one umbrella, right? And that certain writings that did not support the agenda of the church were discarded as heretical. And how today, even if you're questioned, you're seen as a heretic, which is where I started at the beginning. So I'm here for the heretic. I'm here for the heretical way of thinking and being. I'm here for giving voice to whatever is important or valuable in your experience. And let's unfold that together and let's bring it to its highest resonance. And that is why I am here. I am here. I am so full with this. Absolutely, absolutely. As I say, the church hijacked Jesus and they have no idea who Yeshua really was. If you only knew, it's been covered. That's the other part of the work that I do. Coming out of Christianity was I had a responsibility to understand the religion that I had been exposed to for 46 years of my life. And so in studying the history of the church and the formation of the Bible, I came to a right understanding of what this particular branch of religion was about. And so for me, speaking personally, religion separates and divides. Spirituality brings unity. And
I absolutely agree. Sorry,
yeah.
Amarie.
No, it's
Yeah.
totally fine in this space right here. I wanted to hear from you again if you wanted to share. So I'm here for whatever your persuasion is, let it be true and let it be balanced and let it be unified. And so however we can work together or share and bring that into a full resonance, I am here for that work. I'm here for that process. And what's beautiful about that is I get to unfold with other people as they are in their experience. I am also in mine.
Can I say something real quick about that?
Sure.
I was much like Amarie. I was brought up in church and all of that. Loved church. I was the only one really in my family that went to church. And then I joined the Navy. I joined the Navy in 1999. And that's when my spiritual awakening, I believe, happened. I didn't know what it was at the time, but now I look back on it, because I didn't go to church there. I mean, they would have some things, but I was on the ship, so it was tough. And then I just remember at that time, through all the church I'd been going to, Sunday night service, Sunday, Friday night prayers, or whatever, it was when I went to the Navy, away from all of that, that I felt most connected to God. It was the most, it was so weird to me, because I thought, oh, I got to get to a church. Where's my Bible? No. I was such at a peace. And I was all the way in Japan. And that's when I realized by myself, I didn't know anybody, but that's when I realized that he's a universal God for a universal people. It doesn't matter about religion, nothing. And that's when I began to think, it's the spirit inside of us that connects us. It's not church. It's not the building. And then somebody said to me, it's like the word joy. J for Jesus, O meaning nothing is in between, and Y for you. There was nothing in between your space getting to God. When before, when you was in church, you know, the pastor's there, oh, this one's telling you this, no, 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 no. When you're by yourself and it's just you and him, it's that vertical. That's all it's about. Nothing about the horizontal. That's all. Thank you.
And to share and to add to that, Shannon, so beautifully we say it's about the vertical, because the horizontal is our surrender, right? That's why there's nothing there, because it's about the surrender, and that we have this beautiful palette to explore called life, that we have this life content that speaks to us and serves us in coming to the full resonance of who and what we are. And that's the beauty of it, that we can stand vertically as we surrender and expand horizontally, that when we stretch our arms out, that there's more beyond our arms. And so to me, that's the work of the cross for me. The cross became a personal experience within myself, and that we can have our cross experience and be buried in whatever it is that we are experiencing. But certainly there's an opportunity for us to resurrect anew. And that happens within me, it happens within you. And I am so grateful for this space. Delane, I certainly want to give you an opportunity to come in, even if it's just to say hello in this space of time. We have about 5 minutes left, but I wanted to give you an opportunity if you so chose.
Hola.
Hola, mi amor.
Well, I know a Maria for almost 12 years now. I live in Costa Rica. I started the Reformation, but I didn't finish it. Physically, I didn't finish it. Spiritually, yes, I did. And it was a challenging for me because my first language is Spanish, not English. So I had to translate it in my mind in English in order for me to understand a lot of things. I was frustrated because I didn't get some certain things because I was analyzing it on my human side. I didn't get it like spiritual. Plus I have 2 girls and the work, and when I didn't post it on time, I was so pissed off because I couldn't, or I like, no, they like, no, she like, no, time is up, and I was so mad. But it was a nice journey. I spiritually, I opened more. So when I go to church, I used to go to church, and whatever the pastor was saying, I like, no, you are so wrong. And not because of what I read in the book, is what was revealed to me, what the eternal revealed to me, not the book, to me. So it didn't make sense. It wasn't coincidence as what considering as what the pastor was saying. So I like, no, you are, in my mind, you are so wrong. You got it twisted. No, you are so wrong. So he was preaching and I was on my phone, or sometimes I was in Marie on the phone, and like, he's saying this doesn't make sense. But it was so, that was a meal. I had a meal, a full meal with the book, and this awakening of my soul, spirit, physical body and vital body. It was like a burst, a meal. So like what I said, I didn't finish it physically, but my spirit, yes, it did finish it. Yeah. So thank you.
Delane, Blaine and I are getting ready to see each other after not seeing each other, I think it's been 7, 8 years. I took my first trip to Costa Rica in 2010 in September, and we're actually getting ready to celebrate our 12-year anniversary together. And so we have walked together outside of the book, but definitely inside the spirit as friends. And I look to her as a reflection, as she does to me. And so I'm looking forward to being with her, to see her evolvement and to share in whatever she's got going on in her life. Her life is very different now. She has children. And so I get to unfold with her and witness her life in a few weeks here. So I'm excited about that.
Wow. Are you going to Costa Rica or is she coming to you? I guess you're going to Costa Rica.
I'm actually leaving for Costa Rica very soon here, like in the next couple of weeks. So,
Oh,
and I will be there through the Indigenous Day, Cultural Day in Costa Rica, and I'll be returning to the States, I think the 11th or 12th of October. And so I get to be there for the switching over, because Costa Rica is a country that does not change time. So I will experience the shift from the summer to the fall equinox in Costa Rica. And so, yeah, I will be there for about 3 weeks, but I'm looking forward to this time just to kind of, it's been a lot just to be able to go and be on the beach and eat some mango and, just kind of hang out and kind of get a fresh wind and some space between what I've been experiencing here recently. So.
oh, that's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. I want to offer the opportunity if anyone else would like to jump into the conversation. Is that okay with you, Anne-Marie?
Absolutely, please.
Okay.
Please.
I think Bob wanted to jump in, and
Anyone else first? And
Anne, did you want to jump in here? She's retired minister, New Thought. And so it's good to have that very metaphysical and also part of Theosophy organization. But Anne's being bashful, Bob, so why don't you go ahead?
Okay. And Maria, first off, just thank you. What a journey, what a lesson, what an offering to all of us to find ourselves in that lesson. When you talked about back up 9 months from your birthday to approximate conception time, what was going on for your parents in their world, what was going on in the world, what was going on in the country. What an interesting exploration, which I plan on spending more time with. When we, for a number of years between 2007 and about 2011, we studied with a spiritual teacher in California, and we had multiple retreats every year with her and a group of about 20 people. And one time, this subject of who, blame everything on your parents, came up multiple times through our reflections and our work with each other. And she pointed out to us this idea of consider who your parents were, what they were, what the world was then, particularly what their age was. And so Noel and I are sitting there at about 60 years of age, plus or minus, and there were some 20-somethings also in the circle. And so she actually brought these 20-somethings to the front of the room, because we had been in many retreats with them, their level of maturity or whatnot. And so she said, for many of you in the room, this was your parents' age when you came into the world through them. So just let that settle, reflect on that for a bit. And it just, I've done the math for myself. My mother was 19 years old. Just about to turn 20. And so now the exploration with the worldwide interweb, we can see what else was going on in the world, what else was going on in the United States. The 4th of July weekend, which is what my mother has told me was conception.
Wow, powerful.
And I was born in late March. And so I really appreciate that reminder and that opportunity to explore that into who I am today. Thank you so much.
And thank you for the reminder. I've actually explored it myself as well. My mother was 25 and my father was 28 when I was born. So, and they already had 3 children down and 2 miscarriages when I was born. Wow. So a lot, just really, it's so important just to unpack that and give them, honor their life. That I realized that I was a part of my father's plan, which is why that part in the poem that he already had who he was. And so my father did not know that I was watching him. I don't want to believe that my father was doing the things he was doing, knowing that his daughter was looking. Like, he didn't know that I was listening. He didn't know. And I'm sure that had he known, it may have been, I don't know. But I know he wasn't aware. He was in his own stream. And my parents were 25 and 28. So, and just want to give the honor back to the parent, because that is our connection, as I mentioned, just to really give that honor so we can give us that right footing to move on in our journey. I think that's so important that And look, nobody's doing new work. There's nothing new under the sun. So to hear that you walked a similar, used a similar tool in a different way is just speaks to the resonance of the all that is for me. And so thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate that.
And I just want to thank you so much. It's very enlivening to see how many people around the world are really working for the well-being of everyone. And I think about the light workers. I was just having this image of the warp and weave of a blanket. And this warp and weave are the teachers, the people that hold the light, and they form this blanket. And this blanket is available to go around everyone on the planet to heal and to hold. And I want to thank you so much for being a wonderful part of this blanket, of this movement, of this renaissance of spirit. It's very enlivening. I've done a lot of breath work. I've been a breath worker since the early 80s, done work with pre and perinatal imaging, pre and perinatal re-imprinting, where you go in and you reprint the memories and go into deeper parts of the brain so that the body then has the memories. It goes as if you had these memories from early childhood that carry through to the present day. So I know that the work you're doing is very important. I left a traditional New Thought church in the early 80s because I didn't think that New Thought and positive thinking had a space for suffering. And so I founded my own church and my own denomination in which we honored recovery, because that seemed to be the place for people to be, to go to 12-step meetings to deal with those early childhood issues. And also, we dealt with metaphysics so that we could understand the power that we had of causative thinking, and positive mind psychology. And then also another aspect of it was A Course in Miracles. And I think that that was to have a text to go to so that we could just center in and, and have our foot in some kind of sacred text. And so there's so many of us out there. I've stepped back off the stage a little bit, but I'm so glad that people like you are standing in the center, holding our hearts, our minds, and our souls. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
You all have so much in common. Yes. And Anne, I don't know if you're putting out your newsletter anymore, but I don't think you are, but I always loved getting your newsletter.
Occasional, I call it my occasional newsletter. I'm trying to, I'm writing a book or two right now, and I send out one every once in a while. Not the weekly one I did for 10 years.
Thank you, Anne. That's all I can muster in this moment. Thank you, Anne. Deep bow to you. You are like a kindred soul to me. There was no space for the darkness. You say the stuff, there was no space for that. It's just, I know that there's great beauty out of darkness. And I always think about, when I go back and look at scriptures, and it said that God to me is all. God spoke, source spoke out of the darkness, not into it, out of it, and said, let there be light. So for me, there was great light in the darkness. And so to be able to bring those together and fold into a full experience and allow it to speak to us in its unity and not its division is powerful. It's powerful. Thank you for the work that you do and continue to do, that others like myself can come forward and still continue to carry that torch differently, but still the same resonance. So I definitely want to honor the space that you hold. It matters to me. It matters. Thank you.
Author Sharon.
I don't know if anyone else wants to share, Shannon. Okay, the Shannon MacArthur. Go ahead.
Thank you very
We're
much.
blessed with many Shannons today. Go ahead, Shannon.
It is a true pleasure to be here. Marie, thank you for your work. Thank you for all that you have endured and have blossomed through. The darkness was important because now you shine so brightly. I especially want to shine a little light on the idea of the conception date. When all stars aligned in the right way to make the creation that is you, that is me, that is the one that we are together. I wish we could figure out the conception date of that.
Mm.
Maybe it was 100 years ago when Moses brought down the commandments from the Mount Sinai. I don't know. But I put an invitation in the chat. There's 1,000 women rising, walking up Mount Sinai together on November 8th. I would like you to, I know you're going to be busy in Costa Rica,
We go to
but you don't have to be on Mount Sinai to join us. And so I put the link in there to the Facebook group, and I certainly hope that you and your fellows, all your loved ones, have the opportunity to join us. I'm taking the stones of peace that were given to be by Mother Earth, her promise of peace. Going forward, there shall be peace. I'm taking those stones up Mount Sinai with me. The balance needs to be happen. It needs to be. And so I do this work as you have done your work. I honor you for yours. Thank you so much.
Ooh, first Shannon, I call you the first Shannon. You're the first Shannon in this space. Deep out to you. There is such resonance. You have no idea what you just shared. When I first, and I'm sorry we're going over time. I just have to share this space with Shannon. When I first came to this awakening, the whole thing with Moses and the tablets was what spoke to me, and how the source of desire to commune with us directly. And that because the people were afraid or there was this trepidation, Moses became the voice of God to people. And that how we've come full circle with that. And that how Mount Sinai was a trip that I needed to make at some point in my journey. So even if I'm not there physically, as you say, I would love to be there physically because it's been years since I've been into that region. But to be there and stand with you and hold space for something that I know has resonated with me for a number of years to complete that and join with you in that mission. But there's this return to hearing God within ourselves, that we don't need a mediator, and so that we are able to go. And so even what you walk in and how different places I've gone over the world, I gathered stones, that I would carry stones with me. That stones are indicative of possession. There's so much resonance between us. Shannon, I would love to be with you physically on November 8th. I would love that. And so I'm going to hold space for that. Certainly, I can be there with you in spirit. We bow to you for the work that you do and for the space that you hold. It matters. It matters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You have brought such joy to me today, such love, such light. I really didn't know what to expect. I don't think you knew what to expect. And we did it all together, guys. We did it all together. So beautifully. It's beautiful unfoldment. This was a spiritual unfoldment that I'm going to be so happy to share with so many others, which I hope you all do too. But I do want to say, before I ask you to close it out, Marie, we have to know where we can get the book. We have to know how we can work with you. And I don't think your website is quite up yet. So why don't you give us some of those details, and then you can close it out. This beautiful, beautiful gathering.
Thank you, Noel. Yes, the website, I felt like even though it's not up, I need to at least let people know this is where you're going to be able to go so they can have www.yestobreath.com. And as soon as that web person presents themselves, I am not techie. I tried the best I can, but I got everything spiritual, but the techie stuff, I'm just not. I purchased it. I've done all that background. Okay, I'm ready to go. But being able to get something up is just, it's a leap for me. And so I know that by the end of the year, I need to have that available. But you can reach out to me through my personal email. It's in Inner Peace, and it's NRPIECE @gmail.com. You can reach me on Facebook at A. Marie B. Thomas Brown, and that's A''Marie. And I want to share that really quickly. My name recently changed legally. Last year, I legally changed it. My birth name is Aquanette Marie Bailey, and Aquanette means Aguas Profundas. And I wanted to incorporate the spirit of the divine feminine. So I added my mother and my grandmother's birth name, maiden names. And so I combined my first and middle name to make A. Marie, Aquanette Marie. I moved the Bailey to an initial B for my middle initial, and Thomas Brown are the names of my grandmother and my mother. So it's a full name. It's A. Marie B. Thomas Brown. That's why I purpose to make sure everything gets said, because it's more so a statement than it is a name now. And so that's what I move under the frequency of it all. So I don't want to exclude my father, because Bailey is from my father. So it's A. Marie B. Thomas Brown. It's interesting when people introduce me as A. Marie Thomas Brown or A. Marie Brown, it just sounds like something's missing. So I know it can be a mouthful, but I'm purposing that to be introduced as A. Marie B. Thomas Brown, because I'm a whole expression, I have the breathing space, or Yes to Breath, that you can reach me in Facebook. And I think that's it. The Reformation of a Nation, there is a group that's on Facebook there as well. But I guess what I'm saying to you is I'm trying to bring everything now into a full place where I've had these different pockets of things here and there. And by bringing the website up, it would bring everything into one place. The book can actually be purchased through lulu.com. So it's www.lulu.com. You can get it on Amazon, but there won't be anything that comes to me if you purchase it that way. I don't know why I don't get anything, but for whatever reason, if you purchase it through lulu.com, then certainly there will be a percentage that comes to me.
I already put that in the chat.
I do have a
And
quick
certainly, if you would like to get a personalized copy from me, then you can certainly do that as well. And you can direct message me on Facebook or send me a personal message. I will be more than happy to send you out a personalized copy with a message as well.
Wow. Wow.
Of course, that will be a different price, but you know, if you'd
That's
like
fine.
that, I'm willing.
Very good. And A. Marie, your voice, I'm glad you did some singing. I wanted more, but everything was perfect. But I'm a little greedy here. I'm some more of your energy. I'm sharing
This
that.
means I have to come back, Noel. It just means I have to come back.
For a concert.
Yeah, we'll do that. And such a beautiful voice. And I'm wondering, do you have an audiobook of have you made it into an audiobook?
I have not.
Well, honey.
Yes.
We got to put yet on there.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet.
That's the correct answer. So
noted.
yeah, and I want to tell Shannon, the other Shannon, thank you for redefining joy for me. That's beautiful. So awesome. And Delane, thank you for sharing your experience with A. Marie. It's just so beautiful. And we actually have an event coming up October 14th through 17th at White Eagle Lodge in Montgomery, Texas. I think we have one slot left, but we have two beautiful souls coming from Orosi, Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And they promised to pack, their bags with lots of coffee.
Oh, the best coffee, Costa Rica. That's the best coffee.
So thank you everyone for this very special time together. And yes, A. Marie, we will be together again. And I'll have the video up. There's not going to be much editing on this thing, I'll tell you. It's just perfect.
Thank you.
So thank you, Michael, also for being here. And there are some others that had to come and go. We appreciate it. Now I turn it over to you, A. Marie, to close it, how your heart calls you.
Well, wow. We are in the midst of a 21-day, and breathing with A. Marie, I do a session at the close and the opening of another session as we transition. So we are, I believe we're on day 3 or day 4 of the summer into fall session breathing. And so what we are doing is we are completing 10 breaths in the morning. And it's a breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And I'd like to do 4 of those just in honor of that space that we're holding now. Anyone who would like to join us, if you every day for the next 21 days leading into fall equinox, which we're completing September 22nd. If you could just take 10 breaths throughout your day, that still puts us in the space together, and we are one. Thank you all. Thank you to everyone who will happen onto this live. This is such a, I don't even have words because it's not what I had purpose to share, but definitely it's maligned. And I just want to honor my parents, specifically my father, for being the vessel that enabled me to be sitting here today. Deep breath in, full breath out. Breath, neither inhaling nor exhaling. Deep breath in, full breath out. Breath, neither inhaling nor exhaling. Deep breath in, full breath out. Breath, neither inhaling nor exhaling. In, out, breath. I am complete, and may the silence transition us from this session.